This is HFO's Multifamily Marketwatch, presented by Pacific Exteriors Northwest, a contractor specializing in siding and exterior envelopes, delivering exceptional quality and service for over 30 years. By Aprio, combining DeLapp's Pacific Northwest experience with Aprio's global resources to offer unparalleled tax, wealth management, and advisory services for real estate owners. And by Kennedy Restoration, helping residential and business owners recover from fire, water, mold, and storm damage.
Welcome back to Multifamily Marketwatch. I'm Greg Frick, partner at HFO Investment Real Estate. Back with us again is Zach Lindell. He's Director of Government Affairs for Multifamily Northwest. Zach, thanks for taking the time to come back.
Greg, thank you for having me here again. Looking forward to our discussion today.
One of the big issues, rent assistance and the delays and issues we're seeing in the courts. For members who aren't that deep into it, kind of in plain terms, what are the issues?
Yeah, when it comes to the rent assistance challenge, as I mentioned earlier, we're huge champions of rent assistance. We continue to advocate for more support for residents who are struggling in the state of Oregon. Unfortunately, for emergency rent assistance, we got about a sixth of what was requested in the budget to go towards emergency rent assistance. And so really the different groups that administer rent assistance, which are the community action organizations and some various nonprofits across the state, are inundated with phone calls every day asking about rent assistance. And so they do it on a really as need basis, which is that person is being evicted and going to trial. And that is how they identify who's most in need. And so the current process, Greg, is there's a notice for non-payment that a housing provider issues to the tenant. They then eventually go have their first hearing and they request a trial. As you know, depending on the county, there could be severe delays in the courts, sometimes up to 4, 5, 6 months down the road. And so this could be 5, 6 months where a housing provider and a resident has no idea if they're going to qualify for rent assistance. That's a lot of stress for both the resident as well as the housing provider.
Right.
So when that trial day finally comes, majority do end up receiving rent assistance, but is a long path ahead of them.
And so, as you said, they don't really even get in the queue to get rent assistance or even have the ability until they are, an eviction's been filed and there's a court date set, which again, from a system standpoint, doesn't seem the most efficient. I understand that they're trying to get money allocated to the most in need, but is there a way that we could, I think we've talked about trying to address this earlier on so it's not this process of months and months waiting for the courts and then did I get it or did I not?
Join the HFO community and get weekly multifamily intel. Click to subscribe.
Yeah, that's a great question and a really great point. Just to be clear, we as housing providers do not want to evict anybody for non-payment. Right. There has to be a better solution. As to what that solution is right now, we're not 100% sure. There has to be some pre-qualifiers to help assess who is most in need. And so what we do know right now is we are putting together a work group that comprises several legislators as well as some stakeholders. And we're going to hopefully discuss and find some solutions that will make this a better process.
So would this be a legislative change to make these to make it a fix, or how is it more just working with the courts and and the providers of rental assistance?
The answer to that right now is I'm unsure. It could be a legislative change, could be a rules change. We're not 100% sure right now.
Okay, so it's still a work in progress.
Absolutely.
I know the other thing we brought up is protecting housing provider employees and other tenants from issues of harassment, things like that. What are you hearing from members regarding that?
Yes. So this is a great question and another item that's on our policy agenda. I believe earlier you and I were talking and some questions that were provided about what our offensive plan is for the next session. Right. As you know, there's only a few tools that our members have to preserve safety inside our properties. And so one of those tools is eviction, and it's not the easiest process to go about. One form of eviction is a 24-hour notice to vacate, and that's for the most extreme of circumstances.
Again, this is not about a payment issue. This is a behavioral, yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, really a true safety issues for residents and the on-site property management staff.
Okay.
So the 24-hour notice to vacate requires an extreme circumstance to happen. I always say, bloody, broken, somebody's potentially dead.
But even those, it's sometimes not forgiven. It's not a given that it's going to work. Like I said, we've got members that have had other tenants had, restraining orders against another tenant, and they still couldn't get them out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the other form of eviction that we currently have at our as a tool is really it provides a right to cure. And so if someone does commit a lease violation, if they modify their behavior for a period of time, it's considered cured, and they can repeat this behavior every so often and not be held responsible. The real challenge here is we see a growing behavior issue where we know that there's stalking and harassment, and they might, change their behavior for a period of time, and then we see it elevate to something worse. And we want to stop
And
that.
then does the process start over again?
And the process does start over again unless it elevates to that next level where somebody is seriously harmed.
Right.
And we don't want it to get to that point.
So really it's kind of looking as ways from a legislative, we're trying to, how do we make sure that other tenants are safe and the staff that, works at the property.
Absolutely.
What seems to be one of the bigger, between that and the nuances of this whole eviction process and getting rental assistance, this needs to seem a little bit better, but we're trying to work on that. What's the audience like when you go to Salem? Are they starting to understand this more about the operational challenges of rental housing providers?
Yes, I think they're starting to recognize the fact that when it comes to adding to housing supply in the state of Oregon, it's more than just building that new property. Is what does it take to operate a successful property? When that building's leased up, what do we need to do to ensure that the housing provider is receiving the support they need financially and preserving the safety in those buildings? And they understand how that impacts keeping that housing available to residents and to Oregonians, and how to tell investors we're open for business and we need more housing here.
Yeah, I wonder sometimes because we're, you've heard it in the paper, and I know we're dealing with some of it too, some of the challenges for some of the nonprofit providers. And, maybe that was a wake-up call for legislators that, the same problems they're having, the private industry's having. There's challenges because of some of the regulations and the rules that have been set in place. Really, you've got your hands tied behind your back and trying to, protect your existing tenants, your staff, trying to get assistance to people. So let's talk about so for people that want to get involved, what's coming up, for in multifamily in your side? Are there any events on the calendar? How do people, get more engaged? Because I think engagement of our members is so vital right now and trying to, kind of get these policies going. What's on the calendar for the next couple months?
Yeah, so we have several big ticket items, but then we also have some recurring committees that you might be interested in joining. And so I'm going to plug some of the committees first.
Perfect.
First is always join the Government Affairs Committee. We're not asking our members to read bills and read policies. We're asking them to discuss what are their challenges, and then for us to identify what those challenges are and find solutions and talk to legislators. So we're never going to ask for you to read a bill. We're trying to ask you, what are the problems that you would like us to solve?
What are your priorities? What's important to you right now?
Exactly.
Right.
And so Government Affairs Committee might be for you if that's what you're interested in. Additionally, when the legislative session's up and running, we do a weekly Friday session update call. This is your opportunity to hear weekly what is going on in Salem, what bills are going, where they stand, the likelihood that they're passing, what action steps do we need to take. So those are the two, that's the committee and the regular update that I'd recommend that folks would be involved in. If you're new to this and you're looking at potentially just getting your feet wet in this advocacy thing here at Multifamily Northwest, I would recommend coming to a couple of different events. First is going to be our, on September 22nd, we're doing a Meet the Candidate reception down here in Slabtown in Portland. I think currently we have 17 or 18 elected officials and candidates registered, and we're looking forward to a great afternoon of meeting the candidates and supporting them.
So that gives people the opportunity to face-to-face time with some of the candidates that are running.
Yes, and just know you won't be alone. There will be a lot of Multifamily Northwest members there that will help you, will introduce you to some of these legislators and make it less awkward and more of a good experience. So I'd recommend coming to that.
Okay. And that's on the 22nd.
Yep, September 22nd. And then we'll also be holding a mini advocacy day in October for any of those that are interested in learning how to speak to elected officials, how to craft emails, how to hold a 15-minute or a 30-minute meeting about your property or the issues you face. We're going to be doing a mini advocacy academy on that in October.
So that's to get comfortable when we say, hey, call for action. We want to go down to Salem and have a Capitol Day, talk to legislators. This will give you some of the tools to make it more effective when you're down there.
Yeah, and it's not just a Hill Day. It's get to know your lawmaker and develop a relationship with them. Take them out to coffee, show them your property. Our goal is to really create these new relationships.
And again, it's not just where you live, it's if you own property within a district as well, because everybody that lives in that apartment building is a constituent for some elected official.
That's a really great point.
Yeah.
I mean, 400 unit building could have 400 voters for that lawmaker.
And as you're sitting there trying to explain how you're trying to make it safe, living environment for everybody in there, they see those challenges. Maybe you get them to come across a little bit. So, well, thanks for taking the time to come sit with the audience again. I'm sure we'll do this again real soon, since there's always stuff changing down in Salem and here locally. And we'll see you again next time on HFO Multifamily Marketwatch.
Thank you, Greg.
HFO's entire office specializes in multifamily real estate, making us the largest multifamily brokerage in the Pacific Northwest. Your success is our passion. Like and subscribe to Multifamily Marketwatch videos on YouTube, articles on LinkedIn, and podcasts on all major streaming markets. Build your legacy with HFO. Call 503-241-5541 or visit our website at hfore.com for more information. HFO is a partner of the Global Real Estate Advisor Network.
Love the insights? Tap the like button and click subscribe. It helps us bring more multifamily news straight to you.